Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Thanx. So, this is part 1 of 2 of my Shirou Emiya from Fate's Day Night extravaganza. Before I begin, I would like to quickly tell you why I'm making this video. It all started a couple weeks ago when I made a video of upcoming Fate adaptations and how excited I was, except I expressed my displeasure with the protagonist of Fate's Day Night timelines, Shirou. I don't like him, and a lot of you were quite appalled by this and vehemently disagreed. That is completely okay, and it made me want to make a video, what's in a protagonist, Shirou. I will explain to you why I believe that he is one of the worst protagonists anime has produced. That, and I also want to actually make a whole thing, what's in a protagonist, because there are occasionally great ones, like Kiritsugu, who in my opinion is one of the greatest anime protagonists of all time, if you can call him a protagonist. It's more of an anti-hero, but whatever. In any case, while working on the other Shirou video, this crazy theory popped into my head that really began with a simple question. The simple question is, if Rin's archer from Fate's Day Night, the hero Emiya, was Shirou from the future, as it was explained clearly in Fate's Day Night Unlimited Blade Works, why the hell was he acting the way he did? Well, I'll explain. They answered why he didn't immediately remember he had weird memory loss because Rin wasn't the greatest caster, etc, etc, while dropping a slight hint that he had that same jewel that she gave Shirou in the prologue, so how are there two of them? And of course, it's eventually realized that, yes, he is Shirou from the future. How is it realized? Through a lot of subtle hinting from Archer, and it's never said straight out, but it's so clear, no one thinks differently. I mean, he has the same last name as Shirou, and in the last scene, they pretty much changed his whole facial features to make him look like Shirou. In any case, all those wonderful facts aside, there's a time paradox here, and I'll get into it. High school Shirou fights in a Holy Grail War, and one of the servants in the Holy Grail War is future Shirou. That means, in however many years, whenever high school Shirou grows up, he knows that he will eventually be brought back into a Grail War, where he gets to meet his former self. And of course, he remembers how Archer, who in this case is Dick Shirou, acted towards him. Of course, they have the same powers, and of course, they are the same person. However, Archer should have experienced everything that's happening in this Grail War before, and he therefore should have known exactly what was going to happen, because yes, it was many, many years ago, but something monumental like this generally isn't completely erased from memory to the extent of forgetting the most traumatic moment of your life when you were fighting your future self. He knew what the outcome of everything should have been from the point where he got his memories back, and still, he decided to fight Shirou, like he didn't know what the outcome of that would be. Did he really think he would be able to kill himself in the past? Well, obviously not, because he himself is alive, and therefore the other future Shirou that Rin summoned in Archer Shirou's timeline would have killed him, but didn't, so he should know that he wouldn't be able to completely kill Shirou Emiya, the high school prick. I hope that was clear enough for you. But in any case, we're getting into theory zone now. There are 3 possible answers to this conundrum. Actually make it all make sense and not just say, well, it's a flaw. Because, you know, anime's not perfect, and all these time things never work out exactly right. Well, if you were thinking that, you're weird. Because that accent does not exist. Even in England, where they officially have that accent, I'm pretty sure that doesn't exist. But anyway, here are the 3 answers. The first answer is simple. It's the answer that's given, and it's something I've heard before. The Grail War is above time. So, when one of these heroic experiences are dragged out of time, myth, or legend, this experience is their soul fighting. However, after the Grail War is over and they go back, well, it never happened to them. It's not like 100-year-old Arturia will think back to that Grail War she had in Fuyuki City in 2016, or whatever. Because it's above time. It just uses her soul, not her actual physical life. Also, being that the Grail is tampering with time to bring these servants together, we can easily say that no, this will obviously not affect the actual flow of time, as in, of course, if a servant dies in the Grail War, it's not like he died at that point that he was taken from back in his era, or future of his era, and therefore the rest of time changes. The Grail War is a little thing in its own pocket of space-time. That's one possible answer. I don't like it, because it's sort of disproven from the original Fate's Day Night series, which is canon, of course, where in that arc, Rin wasn't the main love interest of Shirou. I'm sure many of you did not watch the original because it is quite old and not that wonderful, but the main love interest was Saber, and Saber was an amazing character in that series. Of course, it was bittersweet because Saber is from a different time, and once the Grail War ends, Saber must return to her throne in England once again. The proof is that once she returned, she remembered Shirou. That proves that this does affect her in her life, meaning she can go in the Grail War, she could learn stuff, and go back to where she was, and she would know that stuff. It's not above time. But I guess, you know, that's just an oversight, and maybe she didn't actually remember Shirou. She was just blissfully thinking, and it was more like a deja vu type thing. But in any case, I prefer the next two answers much more. My second answer is Archer is a freaking badass, and he's a liar as well. The only reason why he knew that he was able to win the Grail War when he fought in the Grail War is because this mysterious Archer character from the future came, pushed him to his unlimited potential, unlocking unlimited blade works. The only way to really fight off Gilgamesh to an extent. Of course, he knew he wouldn't be able to finish the job, so he stayed in hiding just long enough to deliver the final blow necessary to destroy Gilgamesh, defeat the Grail, win the war, and have Shirou, and thereby himself, surviving until the end. I do believe this is the strongest of my three answers. I think it's amazing. It adds an incredible depth to the character of Archer that I think is kind of missed because everyone thinks of him as, you know, older Shirou. And while Shirou is one of my least favorite protagonists of all time, as I will explain in part 2 of my Shirou extravaganza, Archer is one of my favorite anime characters of all time. And if you look at it in this sense, he is even more of a badass than you thought he was. Shirou lived a life of blind ideals. How, you know, everything can work out for everyone in the end, when really, in all honesty, that's not true and that can't happen. So Archer had to come take him on with complete opposite ideals and morals to come to a happy medium at the end, where Shirou can actually grow as a person and accomplish what he needs to do in this war. My third and final answer is that Archer, the hero Emiya, is Shirou's son in the future. Yes, it makes sense that his son inherits to some extent the abilities of his father Mage, and yes, it makes sense that Rin would summon him because Rin sort of is his mother, at least in the Unlimited Blade Works route. I like this theory a lot because Shirou is a total prick. He is so good to the others to the extent of destroying himself. Can you imagine him imposing that into his son? Can you imagine having a father that is so heroic, he doesn't want people to die even if they're killed. He will teach you to do the correct thing even if it is not right. I personally would have lived through hell if my father would have been like that, and if he would have told me to be like that, oh my goodness. Aside from being embarrassed of a father like that, I would grow up totally differently as a completely different rebellious person. Yes, with similar powers because Shirou is freaking powerful, but I can so see myself, you know, wanting to knock his socks off if I ever get dragged back in time. Even if I don't consciously know he would be my father, subconsciously there is that same personality there. And of course, Emiya is his last name, which makes a lot of sense as well. Those are my three main ways to answer the time paradox of how Archer knew he wouldn't be able to kill Shirou. He knew, because otherwise he wouldn't be where he is. Obviously, he would be dead. Grail War's above time, and therefore, whatever happens in the Grail War doesn't affect past or futures, which is not an answer I'm a huge fan of. He's a liar, and he acted everything out the way he did in a perfect way to lead Shirou to victory, which is my favorite answer because it makes Archer a total badass. And the third answer, the hero Emiya is the son of Shirou Emiya, who had a very massive clash of ideals with his father, and that resulted in his subconscious battle against him in Unlimited Blade Works. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and now after I have all this praise that I've just said for Archer, I hope I don't insult you all that much with my future disgust shown towards Shirou. And that will be next time. I don't know when, hopefully soon. Meanwhile, have yourself a wonderful evening. Please subscribe to know when the next thing comes out. Please let me know if you want more theories like this, because really it's a lot of fun to make. It's just, you know, I don't always think of them, but I will try to pay more attention if I at least know you want them. And that is all I have for now. So, I'll see you next time.